Hello, I'm Professor Susan DeGize. This tutorial is on Practice 3.4. Directions. Add rests to complete each measure when necessary. All right, so I'm going to do the sample for you. One strategy you can do is look at the time signature, say there are 3 eighth notes per measure. This quarter note is equal to 2 eighth notes. So in order to fill this measure, I need one more eighth note, right? To make it 3/8. So I'm going to put 1 eighth note to fill this measure. Okay, the next one is a whole measure of rest. So rather than putting in a dotted quarter rest, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my whole rest, right? Because the whole rest means a whole measure of rest. Here, this eighth note is worth an eighth note. This dot is worth a 16th note. So in order to fill this measure, I'm going to need a 16th rest because the 16th note and 16th rest will equal 1 eighth note, and an eighth rest because that will equal an eighth note. So then I have 1 eighth note, 2 eighth notes, and 3 eighth notes. Okay? My last measure has a dotted quarter note, which actually fills the entire measure. So I don't need to add anything else there. I'm going to erase these because they're a little messy. All right. So why don't you go ahead and do numbers 1 and 2 on your own. Pause the video and press play when you're ready. Okay, number 1 is in 3/4, meaning there are 3 quarter notes per measure. The quarter note is equal to a quarter note, and the dot is equal to an eighth note. So the other half of that eighth note is going to be an eighth rest. So that's 1 beat for the quarter, 2 beats for the 2 eighths, and now I'm going to need 1 quarter rest to fill the measure. Okay, an eighth plus 2 16ths equals 1 beat. So I need 2 beats of rest. So 2 beats of rest is represented by a half rest. So I'm going to draw a half rest right there. Oops. Okay. And then the next measure is an entire measure of rest. So I'm going to put a whole rest there, not a dotted half, right? And then our last measure, we have 2 beats with the half note, and then the 2 eighths equals a beat. So those are the only rests for number 1. For number 2, we have 2 quarter notes per measure. So this quarter note is going to need a quarter rest to fill the measure. Now we have a whole measure of rest. Now it's tempting to put a half rest because the time signature is 2/4, but again, a whole measure of rest means we need a whole rest. The next measure has a dotted quarter. So the quarter is worth 1 beat, and the dot is worth an eighth note, so we're going to need an eighth rest to fill that measure. The last measure already has 2 full beats. If you have any questions about the whole rest in particular, please reread section 3.4. You've now completed the tutorial for practice 3.4. Thank you for watching.